Welcome back to our program here on Coastal Daybreak on the talk station. We had a lot of fun when the original book of William Shakespeare's Star Wars came out. So we're just thrilled to see the follow-up here. William Shakespeare's The Empire Striketh Back. And Ian Doescher once again joins us here on the talk station. Good morning, Ian. How are you?
That's great. How are you?
Good to have you back on the show here with this book. This, just like the first one, this must have been a lot of fun to put together.
It really was. After the first book came out, it was just 2 or 3 weeks after the first book came out that they approached me about writing the next two, and I didn't have to think about it twice. I knew it would be fun to get into Empire and Return of the Jedi and have some fun with those.
But when you say they, I mean, this is a pretty big they that approached you.
This is actually Quirk Books, who's the publisher, who approached me, but they had already talked to Lucasfilm, and now Lucasfilm is part of Disney's massive family. So yes, it was sort of a big they coming and asking me about doing this.
Have you heard from the Lucas folks about this? Did they take a great interest in it as well?
Yeah, I get to work directly with some of the people who work in the publications department for Lucasfilm. So they have this whole department for people who are watching over all the Star Wars books that come out.
Cool.
And so yeah, I get to work with them. It's really interesting and fun getting to work with them because they know their series just so intimately and sort of know all of the rules around it.
Now, to me, as I'm reading through this, what I thought must be the most challenging would be to write Yoda's parts.
I knew that I was going to have my work cut out for me with Yoda because even when the first book came out where Yoda doesn't appear, people started asking, wow, what are you going to do with Yoda? Because Yoda already sort of talks backwards, and so what are you going to do? And so I thought about a few different things that I might do. I could have him speak just sort of in totally modern English, sort of flip it. Or I thought about a couple of other things, but what I ended up doing was putting all of Yoda's speech into haiku, which was not something that Shakespeare would have done. But I figured it sort of fit. It sort of then sets his speech apart from the others, just like his speech was set apart from the others in the movie.
Oh, so well, now am I reading it? I'm seeing it. Yoda just sounds different. I mean, he doesn't sound like the Yoda that we think of, but it's different, and so it's haiku. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's haiku.
Oh, that's cool. Now, as people read The Empire Striketh Back, now how long has this been out, by the way?
It came out yesterday.
Just came out yesterday. So as you start to get feedback on this, I'm sure people are going to ask, why are you going to do prequels? Are you going to do everything else? But this, I would think this takes a lot. This is a lot of work to take that script and rewrite it in Shakespeare style.
It is a lot of work, though the more I do it, the more familiar I become with iambic pentameter, and the easier it becomes to write with more practice. These days, I will be listening to a conversation between two people, or I'll be watching TV or something like that, and somebody will say something, and all of a sudden I'll be like, hey, that was iambic pentameter, and then people look at me like I'm crazy. But you do become more familiar with it as time goes on.
Do you start to speak in certain length, always cognizant of what you say?
Sometimes I notice myself, my syllables starting to roll along in these even little patterns.
Yes, and it is. That's what makes it fun. I think, did anybody try to perform it?
There have been some people who have done read-throughs. I think even some people who are putting on at least a few scenes, if not full performances.
On
right
YouTube?
Now,
I bet there's some YouTube ones of this.
Yes, that's right. Right now, the official word from Lucasfilm is they're saying no to full performances because they sort of want to be able to watch over their brand and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But there are some people who have done scenes here and there, and that's always fun to see.
I mean, maybe it's The Empire Striketh Back, the musical. Maybe that's next.
Well, that would be fun.
It is. It had to be fun. But how did this first come about? I know we asked you that the last time, but how did this idea first come about of putting Star Wars and Shakespeare together?
Sure. It was just this lucky mix for me of some things that happened. I watched the Star Wars trilogy with some good friends of mine, and not too long after that, I read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which is one of the first books in this mashup genre. Mm-hmm. And then right after that, went down to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival with my family.
Oh, great place to go.
Shakespeare. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then it was sort of a mix of, I had all three of those things bumping around in my head, Shakespeare and mashups and Star Wars. And it was while I was at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival that I had the idea to do this. and I wrote to Quirk Books, who had put together Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I knew that they had done a few mashups, and so I wrote to them and said, hey, I've got this wacky idea. What do you think?
I assume they still hold that in Corvallis. Is that where they hold it?
It's down in Ashland.
In Ashland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Ashland, Oregon. That's right, yeah. Again, it's William Shakespeare's The Empire Striketh Back by Ian Doescher. And again, you can go on his site, that's IanDoescher.com, and find out more there as well, too. And it's also out and available everywhere?
Yeah, it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and should be in most local bookstores.
Now, tell me about the illustrations in this.
Yeah, the illustrations are done by a man named Nicolas Delort. He's a Canadian now living in Paris, and so the publisher found him, and he does these wonderful sort of woodcut looking
woodcut style.
Yeah, exactly, and he's done this beautiful blend of, it's the Star Wars characters, very identifiable as them, and scenes from Star Wars, but they have this lovely sort of old quality to them, and people are dressed up in these just sort of amazing-looking costumes. The cover of The Empire Striketh Back with Yoda on the front in this very sort of ruffled collar really is a lot of fun. He's doing a great job.
Yeah, and he should certainly be working for a Wall Street Journal. I mean, they do a lot of woodcut stuff. So it is a fun book to read, and I would imagine, again, it would be wonderful to be read out loud as well, too. So get some folks together and do that. William Shakespeare's The Empire Striketh Back. And you can find it available everywhere now, just out yesterday. And Ian, thanks for joining us once again.
Great, thank you.
Ian Doescher, again, it's a wonderful exercise, too, and as he said, iambic pentameter, but I didn't catch that it was haiku than Yoda's parts, and now that's going to make it even more fun to read. This is Coastal Daybreak here on the Talk Station, FM 107 and AM 1240. More to come in a moment.
Hey, it's Big John R. Buy, sell, trade, and give stuff away on Swap Shop, Saturday mornings at 7 on the Talk Station.